According to the NCAA, less than 2% of Division I college athletes go pro and play professional sports, making it imperative that their athletic influences, while they play college sports, do everything they can to develop their players both from an athletic and personal standpoint. Chris Kreider is one of the new assistant coaches for the SMU men's basketball program, and he concurs with the notion that building relationships is the first key to building trust in establishing a partnership where the players, the coaches, and ultimately the team has a chance and maximize their fullest potential. Kreider took some time out to join me this week to discuss the development of athletes, the role basketball can play to set them up for prosperity, the importance of perseverance and persistence, and how to set goals which have a meaningful and tangible outcome for all involved. I'm ready to talk some basketball, so without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Chris, if you're ready, I'll take a few seconds to welcome you to the program, and I'm delighted to be with you this morning to talk a little basketball, buddy. Great to be with you this morning, and thank you so very much for being here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Now, Chris, I wanted to start our conversation about talking about the importance of building relationships because, you know, as an assistant coach, I figure that you might think that that might be the heartbeat of how you start developing and trust and building trust with an athlete. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, first of all, Kevin, thanks a lot for having me. Looking forward to talking here a little bit. But I think relationships that's what this whole thing's about. And, you know, I know doing what you do, having a chance to talk to a lot of people, you know, you're on the front end of developing relationships. And I think for us as coaches in recruiting, it starts there. You know, your first call, your first text. Okay, how do you introduce yourself? How do you initiate a relationship? But then that's where the fun begins. How do you cultivate a genuine relationship to where it's not just a used car salesman where you're selling a product, but you're really trying to get to know young men and inform them about the program here at SMU and what we're about as coaches and the opportunity that presents for themselves here at SMU. So I think authentic relationships is really what you try to grow as a coach, you know, especially as an assistant coach. You're an extension of your head coach and you want to make sure you're echoing the same things that he's talking to our guys about, and you do it in your own way. You know, everyone has their own personalities. You can't try to be someone that you're not. And so I think you got to find your sweet spot. You know, that's where the money's at as an assistant coach, trying to be yourself, get to know guys, and develop those lifelong relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, talk to me about finding what makes a player tick and really getting to the bottom of what motivates a player and how important that is in the work that you do.
That's a great question. I think it's not always what is said, it's what's not said. So you have to be a great listener. You have to know what questions to ask. And when they answer the question, listen to what they're not saying and read their body language, and all that stuff's important, you know. And I think it's about collecting that information, and it takes time. You know, they always say relationships is about developing trust. Well, how do you develop trust? You know, that comes with time and showing what your true intentions are. I think For instance, our situation here, we recruited 8 transfers. And so it's taken a couple months here to get to know what each of these guys are about and what makes them tick. And that happens not only on the court, but it happens there, but in your office watching film, out somewhere eating a meal, spending quality time off the court, a text, a call, FaceTime, whatever it is, you're putting all that together and you're trying to get a feel for what that person's about. And they're trying to do the same thing for you. You know, they're trying to figure you out as a coach. So I think just be yourself and, show them that you really care about them more than just a player.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, talk to me about recruiting, because I know you're big as an assistant coach and helping recruit players, and the competitive advantage you have as coaches when you're trying to recruit kids. How competitive does it get out there, Bonnie?
Yeah, it definitely gets competitive. And I think, early on in my career, and not that it's changed, but, you get into recruiting battles and, it comes down the stretch. You've been recruiting a young man, let's say for 2, 3, sometimes 4 years, and it gets personal and you really develop a strong relationship with not only the young man, but his family, his mother, father, sister, brother, whatever it might be. So I think that it's all about the big picture, right? So, we talk to our guys all the time about seeing the big picture. Well, we as coaches in recruiting, you have to see the big picture. I think, I work for CY, Charlton Young, who's an assistant at Missouri right now, but he gave me my first Division I coaching opportunity. He used to say this all the time. In recruiting, if you bat 300, that's pretty good. So if you do the math, that's 3 out of 10, the guys that you're going to get. So I think something that I've said, I know to a lot of young men late in the process is, look, you know what we're about and you know the opportunity here. And I know you have to go through your process, but here's the deal. Let me be transparent. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I'm going to run into you. I always say the airport, but it could be anywhere. And when you see me, I want a certain snapshot to pop in your mind. I want you to have a certain level of respect for me, whether you end up coming here or not. And so I think it's about handling yourself as a coach, just, knowing that this young man's got to make a tough decision and he might not choose your situation. Sometimes now with the transfer portal, he doesn't decide to come to your spot first. He might call you if he transfers. So just leaving guys with a true indication of what I'm like as a person, what I care about. And it's about them. The decision is not about us as coaches as much as we want to think it is. This is about their future, what's best for them, what's best for their family. So if you can, at the end of the day, be competitive, do your best to attract that young man to your program and accept what comes with it.
Yeah, there's only one chance to make a first impression, right?
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, tell me, as an assistant coach, I'm fascinated to ask you about name, image, and likeness and your perception and opinion about the whole concept. But what do you think of it?
That is the hot topic. It sounds like you've been in our office and you've been in college basketball circles. That's what everybody's talking about. And we're just talking about it just to try to figure it out. I think, I've been doing this almost 20 years and, it's the profession of college coaching is different. And I think for us to, as coaches to navigate this profession, you have to continue to evolve and you have to develop with the times. And so right now, name, image, and likeness is a hot topic. Along with the transfer portal, those are the two things that are affecting this profession. Personally, I think it's great. I think it's awesome for these guys to have opportunities, these young men and young women, to participate in this. And for us as coaches, all we're trying to do is understand what the current rules are. The rules change, they vary by state. We want to do whatever, in this case, SMU and our compliance department and the NCAA allow us to do. And there's certain things we can and can't talk about, but we can put our guys in the best position possible for them to capitalize on any opportunities that might come their way. For us being in Dallas and being at such a prestigious school like SMU with an unbelievable alumni base and, just people in the community that want to help, we're in a great situation. And now we're just trying to figure out how can we best help our guys, because for us, it's always about the players. as I've mentioned before. And so now how can we help these guys understand the landscape, what opportunities are available to them, and not to believe everything they see on Twitter, and to make sure they understand all the details that come with name, image, and likeness. For example, taxes. Whatever income comes your way, you have to, learn how to pay taxes on that and follow all the laws in regards to that. So I think it's a great opportunity for them to practice financial literacy and understand the laws and things that they'll have to deal with moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, tell me, when you describe sort of your coaching philosophy, what comes to mind for you personally?
Personally, I think, two things. Servant leadership, that's something that, I've tried to study for the last, couple years. That's a buzzword that's kind of came out of leadership, just trying to be a servant. My faith is very important to me. And so I try to model that on a daily basis. And hopefully that reflects in how I interact with my colleagues and our players and our program. And I would also say transformational coaching. That's something that don't want to be transactional. Do this and I'll do that, or do this because I said this. I want to show them on a daily basis, this is what I'm about and this is what we're about as a program. And I want to, embrace those two things, because I think in order to help a young man reach his potential on the court and off the court, which is equally important, you have to do those two things. They have to know that you have their best interests at heart, and everything flows from that. So whether it's stepping on the court with them for an individual workout, or getting shots up before or after practice, all of it's connected. And so I think as a coach, if you can show that what you're saying and what you're doing is coming from a good place, and you're going to make mistakes. And when you do, own up to them as a coach. And I think you earn the respect and the trust of your players that way.
Yeah, and part of your job as an assistant coach, as you just mentioned, is sort of developing the whole player. You can reach certain goals athletically and on the court, but I also think it's important to leave a lasting impression for athletes as people. So tell me about the importance of developing the whole athlete, Chris.
It's cliche, but we all say it and we've all heard it. The ball is going to stop bouncing. And so another cliche that's connected to that is something that I've said, and once again learned it from a mentor of mine, is that these guys understand the ball is going to stop bouncing. And when you've been in this profession for almost 20 years, you've had the opportunity to coach young men, a lot of which are similar to that young man you're dealing with in that moment. And you've seen the end of the movie. And the end of the movie sometimes it's a great ending, and sometimes it's not a great ending. And so what you're trying to do as a coach is, with all of your experience, with how you value that young man that's in front of you that day or that team at that time, what you're trying to do is use your experience and whatever toolbox you have, your words, your actions, to help that young man understand that when the ball stops bouncing, can you use this degree that hopefully you get here at SMU to allow you to meet as many people while you're here for these 3-4 years, however long you're here, to set you up for life after basketball, because however long you play here pales in comparison to the rest of your life. And so, whether that's a wife, family one day, being able to support for them, that's what you're trying to do. And so by seeing the end of the movie multiple times over the years, you're reminded of what worked, what didn't work, what helped guys get to where they eventually ended up at, and pitfalls that you might be able to help them avoid. And so I think being able to see the big picture and being able to understand that ball, as much as you might love it, LeBron James at some point is going to walk away from the game. Michael Jordan did. And those are the two best players to ever play the game, in my opinion. But so you got to understand that. And so to do anything other than prepare yourself for when that happens is foolish. And sometimes, I know when I was young, I did some foolish things. So, you try to help them take advantage of every opportunity they have.
Yeah, life is a constant game of networking, isn't it?
It is. And I've, was actually talking to a friend of mine this morning. In this profession, especially, just like many others, it's about who you know. Who you know gets you there, and what you know keeps you there. So you have to know whatever skill, trade, profession it is that you're involved with, obviously. But it's that one relationship that gets you in the door. And I look back over the course of my career, I said my faith was very important to me. So I believe that God has opened doors for me at times. I know that. But that was still a person that he used, whether it was Dan Earl when I was at VMI and we were let go at George Mason and our daughter was being born and I didn't have a job. I picked up the phone and Dan Earl gave me an opportunity at VMI to stay in this business, in college coaching. So that was someone that I had played for at Lebanon Valley College, that played with Dan Earl at Penn State, that made the connection. So it's just that. It's relationships, being ready when the opportunity comes, and then hitting the ground running when you do finally get that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take advantage of your opportunities, don't you?
For sure. That's what it's about. And, you're going to make mistakes along the way, and it's not going to be easy. And in college coaching, obviously, these spots are limited and it's very hard and challenging. And so for us as assistant coaches, especially, we all, have dreams and desires to be head coaches. And we just have to be patient, get better as coaches, wait for that right opportunity, and at the same time push our players, do the best job that we can where we're at, and understand that the math of it, there's so few opportunities to do this. And so I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to do that here at SMU.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, tell me, what does it mean to you when a player plays with passion and purpose? How can you tell that they're really invested in the process?
You can tell it in a lot of ways. It's the same thing. I guess it's came up a couple different times here in different ways, but it's not just what they say, though. They can say the right things. Yeah, I love basketball. I want to be a pro. Playing in the NBA is my dream. I want to play overseas, whatever it might be. But if their actions don't match what they're saying, then obviously that's fraudulent, and you try to help them. So it's all about setting goals, realistic goals, understanding the landscape of, okay, I want to play, let's just say professional basketball. What does that mean? What kind of player am I? How tall am I? What do I weigh? What position do I play? Okay, let me look at that league, the NBA, overseas. Who are guys that look like me? What are they doing? What are their skill sets? And if you're not looking at that and studying that, then let's be honest, that's really not your goal. The same way it wouldn't be my goal if I said I wanted to be a head coach and I wasn't trying to prepare myself every day to do that. And so that's where this basketball thing is an awesome thing. As coaches and as players, we have so much in common, and we're in this journey together, and it can bring out a lot of different things. And I think the commonalities there's so many. And that's why if you have authentic relationships with your players, you can help them reach their goals. They see you working and you putting in the time to reach your goals, and it's everybody working together for the common good.
Yeah, and Chris, how do you measure tenacity in a player? And I'm wondering if there's a motto that you live by as an assistant coach.
Yeah, I think that's a skill. Some guys, let's say Steph Curry, I don't know if you would watch him play and say that's his trick. His trick, obviously is putting the ball in the basket, shooting, and his skill level with the ball. Other guys, you might watch them play and you might immediately say he plays really hard. He's high energy. Those are some words we use a lot as coaches. Or the other words you were using, toughness, ferocity, passion, whatever. Guys, some guys wear that on their sleeve, but other guys don't. And so I don't think there's a measure for it. I think obviously the guys that play that way stick out, and you can name guys that have made it, whether it's Patrick Beverly, Jay Crowder, Montrezl Harrell, just guys off the top of my head. When you watch them play, you're like, wow, they are passionate, and they've used that as kind of a calling card, and that's their trick. And they've found their way on NBA rosters. Yeah, they can do other things, but they bring that every single day. And when you're putting together a team, you want a guy like that. And, Udonis Haslam right now is a coach, but he played that way. And I think that's the value he brings to the Miami Heat, that, he's on the bench, on the sideline. You can just see it. Now, I think the fascinating part is that's not my personality, let's say. So what could I bring to a coaching staff? Or back in the day, a long time ago when I played, I didn't bring that as a player because, like I was saying, everyone's different. And so that's the beauty of team sports. This isn't tennis. It's not bowling. You got to try to put these guys together on a team to complement each other. And so when you put Steph Curry, who can really shoot on the court, with the tough guy, passionate guy, those guys, Draymond Green, there's your example there. Those guys help each other out and they complement each other.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. And now I want to talk about the life of of an assistant coach and the importance of a support system, and how do you measure growth and success as an assistant coach?
I think you measure the success. We all want to win. Let's not shy away from that. Winning is what matters for our players. That they want to win. They want to go to the NCAA tournament. As coaches, we had the opportunity to go this past year at Georgia State. Went to the NCAA tournament, lost to Gonzaga in the first round. It was an awesome experience. My first time ever going as a coach. And so actually that's kind of how I can answer your question. So I'm almost 20 years into coaching, and it was last year that I had my first experience of the NCAA tournament. So does that mean for the first 17, 18 years that I was not successful as a coach? Personally, I didn't view it like that. I view it as our success as coaches can be viewed as the amount of lives that we can touch and the impact that we can have on these young men. And if you view it any differently, I think that's where you set yourself up for failure. If you get into this profession of coaching for the money, let's say even in high school, you're trying to get an extra $5,000 stipend, which I did in my past. I was a high school coach. So if you did it for that, you do the math on that, the hours you're putting in, not a good return on your time. If you get into college coaching for the money, not a good investment. If you do the math, you take the years you're doing it, most likely it's not going to work out great. So if you're chasing the money, the possibilities of getting fired or whatever it might be, it wouldn't make sense on paper, is what I'm saying. So I think if you place your value as a coach on the amount of impact you can have on someone else's life, I think that's where the money's at. That's the sweet spot you got to find. And so my support system, my wife, Heather, and our daughter, Olivia, who just started second grade yesterday, I will adamantly say the only reason I'm coaching is because of Heather, because she allows me to live this crazy lifestyle, which involves a lot of moving, uprooting our family, time, sacrifice. So you have to have a support system, and that support system has to be in tune. You got, as a husband and wife, we have to be on the same page, or else we're just setting ourselves up for some tough times as well.
Yeah, and Chris, how do you define fulfillment as an assistant coach?
My fulfillment as an assistant coach is the same fulfillment I would have in any profession. I've waited tables before. I've taught high school and middle school Spanish before. I've worked in landscaping before. So I've done some other things, whether that was in college or early in my career. And I think personally, just because of the value I put on my faith, my fulfillment can't come from anything related to a basketball. That will come and go. So personally, I just have a different view on that. My fulfillment comes through my faith. I have a worldview. I know that, there's more to this life than just those things. Money, riches, fame, all that stuff is fleeting. And so I've learned that, I've seen that. And so I want to try to instill in my daughter first, Livia, the fact that she needs to chase something that she's interested in, but she has to know where true fulfillment comes from. And it doesn't come from any of these things. Yeah, absolutely. And, buddy, I'm going to share just a little bit about myself. So I was actually born with cerebral palsy, and I had originally went to school to become a sports reporter. And
So I also have an identical twin brother, and we were both born with cerebral palsy. And one of the reasons I got into journalism is because I couldn't play sports with my disability, but I still believe that sports is a bonding agent to bring people together. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on the bond that sports creates and the emergence of wheelchair basketball, buddy, because I think it's a great way to stay in shape and to stay active as well.
Yeah, for sure, Kevin. I appreciate you sharing your story too. I think it's awesome, and you're really good at what you do. You know, I can tell you put time into this. Some of the questions you've even asked today are really, really good questions. So I applaud you, you know, for the time that you put into your craft. I think that's incredible. So I think, you know, whether it's wheelchair basketball or coaching or, you know, something like that that's around the game, I think it's all about following your passion. Like, for whatever reason, I was passionate about basketball from a young age, just like you were about sports, you were saying, and journalism. And I don't know where that came from. I'm going to call it, you know, God gave me that love for basketball. You know, I played other sports and just didn't like baseball as much as my dad wanted me to play. And I grew up in Colombia, South America for 5 years, and I played a little soccer because everybody does in Colombia. Didn't really feel it like that. But it was in Colombia that I started playing basketball. And from there, if I trace back all the meaningful, not every single relationship, but a lot of the most meaningful relationships that I've had in my life, they're either former teammates of mine, former colleagues of mine, opponents of mine, coaches that I've coached with, coached against. Basketball has opened those doors, and it's created those memories, like you were saying, of camaraderie. And there's something special about that. And that's back to being a team sport. And but I think within all of that, maintaining the proper perspective, I think, is where, you know, where it's really about, or what it's really about. Because if you, all that stuff is great, but it only lasts for so long. And I think just having the proper worldview and perspective on that, like, you know, chase it while you can, and do everything you can to be the best player, the best coach, and meet the most people and develop the most meaningful relationships. But there's still more than that. And that's my belief.
Yeah, everything in perspective, right?
That's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, tell me, do you think leadership is a learned trait or something that's ingrained in people?
I think it's a combination of both. I think, let's say, similar to an athletic talent, you know, some guys are born with the ability to run fast, jump high, but they work at it too. Now, some guys maybe never have. They're just absolute freaks, and they just wake up and don't have to work at it and are able to do amazing things. So there are a small percentage of guys like that. But I think some are more inclined to lead than others. Some have personality traits that are more inclined to lead than others. But I do think that even with those God-given skills and leadership abilities, I do think you can learn to become a better leader. And I think that comes from listening to what others say about you, or others have learned from you in the past, or didn't like something that you've done in the past, and just evolving. And I think, you know, that's a big part of leadership. And then, you know, the other thing, just kind of how this interview happened. I mean, technology now, I mean, you reached out to me and the ball got rolling, and here we are talking. But now with YouTube, the internet, podcasts, articles, email, subscription lists, whatever it might be, I mean, you're constantly exposed to information that can help you become a better leader.
Yeah, Chris, tell me, when you took this job, because I know you recently got to SMU, tell me because Texas is usually known as a football state, but tell me about the basketball talent in Texas and what excites you most about joining the staff at SMU.
What excites me the most is just the people that I'm around on a daily basis at SMU. You know, Rob Lanier is the head coach here. I had the opportunity to work with Coach Lanier at Georgia State for the last 3 years, and I've learned so much from Coach. He gave me an opportunity when he didn't have to. to come home and bring my wife Heather home to Atlanta, and our daughter home to her grandma. You know, that's something that I will always be thankful for. And I've learned so much from him on the court, off the court. He's really been a mentor to me. And in addition to that, our assistant coaches, you know, Cliff Warren was with us at Georgia State. I've known Coach Warren for a long time, have a lot of respect for him. Jostin Crow, a new assistant that just came on staff here, getting to know him, but just love our staff. Kyle Condon, Andre Owens, Jordan Glover, Isaiah Campbell, Jennifer Whitlock, our whole staff here, Vinny Coludi. It's the people, and everybody knows their role. Everybody has no ego, and we're all about doing whatever is best for our players to give us the best opportunity to win. And it's a lot of fun when everybody's on the same page like that. And you know, so it's the people. But I will say about Dallas, it's the new Mecca, as they call it. You know, the basketball here is really good. We're coming from Atlanta, another hotbed of basketball talent, but Dallas is the same. Just, you know, you can drive anywhere within an hour, 2 hour radius, and you can find a lot of basketball talent in Dallas, in the Metroplex, and obviously in the state of Texas.
It's a big state, isn't it? A lot to choose from, right?
Yeah. Now for us at SMU, it's about getting the right guy. You know, we got to get the right one that embraces SMU and what we're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, I'm curious to ask you, how do you coach persistence in a player? Because, you know, players can sometimes rest on their laurels. I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. So how do you coach persistence in a player?
You encourage them to show up every day. You got to be a day by day guy, an everyday guy. You can't pick your spots. You can't be early one day, get extra shots up before practice, and then chill the rest of the week. And then, you know, 3 weeks from now, decide to do that again. It's all about your habits. So being an everyday guy, talking to guys about their habits, and all that stems from, what are your goals? So if your goals are this, then your habits have to be this. There's a direct correlation between what you do, not just what you say. And so that persistence that you talk about, that's what separates guys from others. The guys that these pros, you know, when you watch a pro and you hear about what they do on a daily basis, a lot of these guys are shocked. They just can't believe Steph Curry does that every day. He's already the best shooter in the world, and he does that every day. They're shocked.
Yeah, absolutely. Persistence certainly pays off both in sports and in life, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's back to the reflection of on the court, off the court. It's all connected. You know, a young man that's late to practice most likely will be late to class. And so you try to make sure that those habits don't exist to help set them up for success.
Absolutely. And Chris, my final question for you this morning has to do with your own personal and professional legacy and how you want that to be defined.
I love that question, and that's a great way to end. I think, you know, I think it was church this past Sunday. We're all going to be remembered for something. We're all going to be known for something. And so on the front end, if we can think about what that is, it could really help us out. I want to be known as a godly father, a godly husband, someone that did see the big picture and worked as hard as he could to be the best player when I played and coached when I coached, but someone that did it all with a sense of humility and teamwork, realizing that there's bigger things than just this game of basketball.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, if people want to get connected with the great work that you do at SMU, what's the best way they can do that, buddy? Yeah,
social media would be great. My Twitter and Instagram handles are the same. Coach Kreider, my last name, Coach Kreider. And then obviously my email is on the website, ckreider@smu.edu. But yeah, if I can ever do anything for anyone, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, Chris, I want to thank you for your investment in molding the minds of young men, both on and off the court, and for joining me in conversation this morning. It's most appreciated, buddy, and I want to thank you for being here.
No, Kevin, thanks for the invitation. Keep doing what you're doing, and wish you the best.